God is Redeemer. God is worthy of worship. God is the Lord. God is the one true God. God gives new life. God is provider. God guides and protects. God desires relationship. God dwells with his people. God never fails. God speaks to us.
Last week in the Big God story, we learned about a man named Abraham. And Abraham was a special guy that God had chosen for a special purpose and task. In fact, God made a covenant with Abraham. A covenant is a special promise. And we know that when God makes promises, he always keeps them. God's promise to Abraham was that he was going to make him and his people and his children a special nation. God was going to make them a strong nation, a large nation, and he was going to make them a nation that were different from all of the others. They would be a nation that would trust God, that would worship God, and that would view God and know God to be the Lord. Because God is the Lord. That means that God is the ruler of all people and all things. And so God was going to make a nation out of these people called the Israelites. And they would be a nation who followed after God. Many years later, God kept his promise. And God's people, the Israelites, were in a place called Egypt. In fact, they lived in Egypt for 400 years. And while they were there in the beginning, it started to go good. They were growing and expanding in number. But because they were getting stronger, they caused some people to be unhappy. In fact, Pharaoh didn't like that. And the Bible tells us that the Israelites became slaves for the people of Egypt. That meant that they had to work for the Egyptians. They weren't treated well. And often it was really difficult for the Israelites. God heard the cry of the Israelites. He heard that they were hurting and that they weren't being treated well. And God was going to make something happen about that. He was going to put it right. In fact, God appeared to a guy named Moses. In today's story, Moses, as we're reading, we see that Moses is out in the wilderness. He's shepherding over the flock, the Bible tells us. And in the distance, he sees a fire shoot up. He sees a fire in a bush. And as he gets closer, he realizes that the bush is not actually burning up, but there's this rapid fire. And as he gets closer, he hears his name being called out, Moses, Moses. And he realizes that God is speaking to him. As he gets closer, the Bible tells us that the voice says, stay where you are, don't come any closer. Take off your shoes and sandals and make sure you come closer because take that stuff off because this is holy ground. And so he takes off his shoes and his sandals and he talks with God, and God gives Moses this special mission. He says, Moses, I'm going to send you to Egypt and you're going to talk to Pharaoh and you're going to get my people set free because my people need to worship me freely. You see, God had this plan that Moses would go and Moses would be the one who would speak to Pharaoh and Moses would see God's people set free. Can you imagine what it would have been like if God had asked you to do what he asked Moses to do? Imagine all the things you would have felt like, man, God, are you sure I'm the right person? I'm not really got the best skills, or I'm not in the best position to do that, or there's better people qualified for that. Moses thought all of those things. He told God all of his excuses, but God still wanted to use him. In fact, God still pushed back, and Moses had one last question. He said, God, who will I tell the people that you are? What name should I give them to say, hey, this person sent me? And God responded, he said, tell them I am who I am. I am who I am? Can you imagine that? That's not a real name. That's not going to be helpful. But what God was saying was, hey, I'm different from everyone else. I'm above everyone else. God was saying, God is the Lord. I am the Lord. I am the ruler of all people and all things, and I am in control, and I'm the one who's sending Moses. You see, God, it might have felt confusing, but God was saying, hey, I'm the God of Abraham. I'm the God who was and is always the same. God was telling the people, hey, you can trust the one who has sent Moses. And you know what? For you and me, we can trust him too. We can make God the Lord of our life. We can allow him to be our ruler, to be ruler over the things in our life. We just have to put our trust in him today. Will you do that? Will you put your trust in God today? I promise you, you will not regret it.